Donald Trump whore and all-around idiot Nick Adams is angry again. Only this time, he lets his racism bleed because of his anger. In the video you're about to see, which I cut with my own commentary, he's angry about the DEI, diversity, equality, inclusion. At least that's what he claims when it comes to the NFL, this past year's NFL draft. But I'll let him tell it. Take a look.
The NFL draft last weekend was host to two of the most egregious examples of racism in sports since Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947.
So you're saying that Jackie Robinson in 1947 breaking the color barrier, becoming a major league baseball player, an African American becoming a major league baseball player, the first black man to do so, was racist? Adams, at first I was amused. Now you pissed me off. I'm just going to say it. You pissed me off. You're saying that breaking the color barrier was racist? Adams, okay, just move on.
The Atlanta Falcons' black GM, Terry Fontenot, drafted a black quarterback with the 8th overall pick, despite having signed a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Kirk Cousins to a record deal just weeks earlier.
Of course, he's talking about Michael Penix, the quarterback from Washington, the national runner-up. Now, I got my problems with Penix because he's injury-prone. Through his entire college career, from Indiana to Washington, he's had a lot of serious injuries that could probably end his career. However, he is still a good quarterback. He wouldn't have made it to the national championship if he wasn't. If it wasn't for the fact that he was outclassed by the Michigan Wolverines, he probably won the national championship. Or, at the very least, it would have been a lot closer than it was. But, honestly, what exactly point are you trying to make? Now, I know Kirk Cousins. Obviously, I followed his career mainly because he's in the Big Ten Conference where my Ohio State Buckeyes are in. When he was a college quarterback at Michigan State, he had an okay career, not a stellar one, and definitely not a Hall of Fame one. He won a bowl game, just one. The rest of the time, he got beaten up and everything else. In the pros, he made a couple of good records, but nothing Hall of Fame worthy. He doesn't have any Super Bowl rings. He's not really the youngest player out there. So, if you're building this guy up, why wouldn't you want a young guy like Michael Penix to learn from a Kirk Cousins, the man you see as a Hall of Famer? Why wouldn't you want that, Nick? Because you don't know a damn thing about football. You don't know anything about playing football. You don't know anything about what goes on in the draft room. But it just keeps getting worse.
Cousins is known for his outspoken faith in Christ and strong support for President Donald Trump.
Oh, I see. You're angry not because of the fact that Michael Penix, not only of the fact that a black quarterback was drafted, but you're angry because you think that there's some kind of conspiracy going on against Kirk Cousins because he's pro-Trump. Now, pro-God, pro-Jesus, being saved by Jesus, expressing your faith, those are beautiful things. I wish more NFL players would do the same. And actually some have done the same. But if you stopped right there, you may have some validity to it. But you decided to go into MAGA territory and say that this is a conspiracy to somehow because he's pro-Trump. I've never seen anything from Kirk Cousins about him being pro-Trump. But since you want to bring that up, what difference does that make? Honestly. So he may vote for Trump. So what? If you don't produce on the football field, you're out. That's how sports work. Kirk Cousins may be a good quarterback, but he's not a stellar one. Kirk Cousins, yes, he's saved. Yes, he is a Christian. However, and I don't like to say it like this, but if you don't produce on the football field, you're gone. And being a Trump supporter doesn't give you extra points on the football field. It just doesn't. Moving on.
And will now have to look over his shoulder while his DEI coach and GM are grooming his successor instead of using valuable draft capital to give Cousins weapons to help the team win now.
Wow. That old excuse. DEI. Diversity, equality, inclusion. You have some sort of problem with that? You seriously have a problem with a black man being drafted to the NFL? Obviously you do. But here's the thing to that. As I said earlier, Kirk Cousins has been in the NFL for a long time. Michael Penix just got drafted. Why wouldn't you want if Kirk Cousins is the legendary player you make him out to be? Why wouldn't you want him to teach someone like Michael Penix? Why wouldn't you want Michael Penix Jr. to learn from Kirk Cousins, a man who's been in the league for a long time, who may know the ins and outs of what goes on the field and what goes on off the field? Why wouldn't you want him to teach Michael Penix how to be a great quarterback, how to be a great NFL player, and more to the point, since you brought it up, how to be a good Christian? Because that's where the heart is. But no, you want to go into your racist bullshit about DEI, and frankly, you just expose yourself as another fucking racist. Frankly, you exposed yourself the second you decided to say that bringing Jackie Robinson into Major League Baseball in 1947 was racist. You're owed an ass kicking for that. And as for him, and as for Kirk Cousins having to look over his shoulder, that's the reality of football. If you don't produce on the field, you're gone. You're cut. And more to the point, what happens if Kirk Cousins gets injured? What are you going to do? Just keep Michael Penix off the field because you're a fucking racist, Adams? Again, you don't know a damn thing about football. You just want... I don't know what the hell you want. And frankly, I don't give a shit.
Even more egregious than this slight, against arguably the best quarterback in the NFL over the last 2 decades, was the treatment of Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean. I have no idea who that is. But when I heard his name, I did my research, and he's a fair cornerback. And by the way, Nick, you're in your goddamn positions. It's cornerback, a defensive position, not quarterback, the lead position in offense. I did my research on this Cooper DeJean, and honestly, he's not exactly a top-tier cornerback. He's okay, but that's just it. Trying to make him into some kind of worthwhile player when my research shows is that he's just another average football player who may actually have an amazing NFL career is not going to work, Nick. But here's the reason as to why Nick Adams think he's being prejudiced against. Cooper DeJean I'm talking about. Take a look.
DeJean is the best DB prospect in years, and his only flaw is he is a strong white alpha male. in a position traditionally dominated by black players.
Wow. You just love showing your fucking racism, do you? A strong white alpha male. A strong white alpha male in a position traditionally dominated by blacks. This shows to me that you don't know a damn thing about football, and you don't know a damn thing about race in this country. If I'm an NFL team owner and I'm looking at every player up for the draft, my number one concern is, can this player get me to the playoffs? Can this quarterback help me win the Super Bowl? Can this running back help me win the Super Bowl? Help my team win the Super Bowl? Skin color is the last thing on my mind when I'm selecting players to play for my team if I'm a team owner or a head coach. The only thing on my mind is, can this player win the Super Bowl for my team? I could care less if he's black, white, brown, Mexican, Asian, and Middle Eastern, or a little green man from Mars. If these players can help me win the Super Bowl, they're on the team. If they can't, they're gone. Now, I know you're an idiot or you're stupid and you're racist, but you're in the NFL for one thing and one thing only: to win the Super Bowl. But apparently for you, it's about finding the great white hope that you can parade to the world like you do on Twitter as alpha males, as Christians, and as Donald Trump supporters. But by that stupid, idiotic, racist pig of a statement of yours, you made yourself into the great white hopeless.
A white cornerback hasn't been drafted in the first round since 1969, a mere 5 years after the Civil Rights Act was signed into law.
Thanks for that little piece of history. So I suppose you have a problem with the civil rights laws too? Anyway, moving on.
Despite Cooper's clear talent advantage over everyone in his class, he fell deep into the second round. We all know that if he looked like his competitors, he would have been a top 5 pick.
When you first decided to blurt out his name, I decided to do my research on Deshaun. And honestly, he's not exactly the best. He's not fast, he's not big. He's not exactly the absolute best that you're trying to build him up as. He's not exactly the biggest and the baddest and the best. He's good, not great. There's a difference. NFL teams want great players for them to win the Super Bowl. Maybe no one saw him as being great. It happens. But then again, the person that gets drafted in the 4th round may become one of the best football players of all time. Just by way of, for instance, Tom Brady, drafted late in his draft class, like 3rd day late. No one thought that this guy was going to achieve anything in the football when he was drafted that late. Next thing you know, multiple-time Super Bowl champion. A no-doubt first ballot Hall of Famer when the time comes for him to go to Canton. Now, Cooper DeJean, I don't know how he's going to fare in the NFL. What I saw in college, from what I've seen, he's good, not great. And who knows, he may have an amazing career in the NFL. But this bitterness of yours, saying that he should have been going 1st round because he's white, that to me is the definition of a man who knows nothing about football. There are plenty of players that should have gone the first day of the draft, gone the 1st round. They didn't. And a lot of them became amazing football players, like Tom Brady I just mentioned. On the flip side, There are plenty of players who went into the first round into the draft, became nothing. See, that's the way football works. You produce on the field, you become an NFL player. If you're lucky, you get to start in NFL games. If you're even luckier, you become a Super Bowl champion. If you're luckier, a multiple Super Bowl champion, multiple Pro Bowls. And if you're very, 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 very lucky, you get the gold jacket. You get a statue with your head on it in Canton. But no, you don't get any of that, because you're too stuck in your fucking racist views. Because you're too stupid to understand that everything in the NFL is earned. You're not just given a huge contract with endorsement deals or anything else because your skin happens to be white, you stupid son of a bitch. That shit is earned because you produce on the field. You damn sure are not handed Super Bowl rings because your skin happens to be white. That shit is earned because you produced on the field on that very day. That statement you just made, this entire video you made shows what kind of a racist pig that you are and how much of an unknowledgeable shit that you are.
Now, I can't say if these are isolated acts of racism by individual franchises choosing to prioritize DEI principles over on-field success, or if the NFL is pushing teams to make these decisions.
Actually, you stupid son of a bitch, you've been saying this the entire video. You hate DEI, you hate black people, you hate the fact that now a white man is not leading the way in the NFL. What exactly are you trying to say, Ams? Because it seems like you're talking out of both sides of your ass.
But I can say one thing for certain. The NFL is biased against white Christian players and Trump supporters. And I'm tired of people pretending otherwise.
Okay, Adams, I'm going to challenge you on that. When in the entire history of the NFL has anyone been pushed out of the league because of his religion? The answer is none. No one has been prejudiced against for their religion. Now, before someone out there says and tries to pull out the Tim Tebow card, put this into perspective. Tim Tebow was an amazing college football quarterback. And let me reemphasize that. An amazing college football quarterback. He was the man then. 2-time BCS national champion, Heisman Trophy winner, 2-time Maxwell Award winner. He was the man in college with the University of Florida. He was drafted into the NFL, pick number 25, first round in 2010. And unfortunately, he fizzled in the NFL. Remember what I said, players can be drafted in the first round, turn out to be absolutely nothing. Turn out to be absolute fizzles. Unfortunately, Tim Tebow was that. He wasn't knocked out of the NFL because he's a Christian and he expressed his Christian faith mainly by writing scriptures on his wristbands, which was a good thing to do because a lot of people in college football and in the pros were looking up those scriptures. He was cut from football teams in the NFL because he was a below average professional football player. Not everybody can make that transition from being the most successful college football player in history, like Tim Tebow, like so many others, and make that transition to becoming a professional football player. The moment you get in the NFL, your past success means nothing. You have to earn every single minute of playing time. And if you can't do that, then you're out. Plain and simple. But when you go out there and say that there is a conspiracy against Christian players and Trump supporting players, then you lose whatever credibility your ass has and you turn yourself into a fucking racist, Adams. If you have any kind of desire to prove me wrong, and I've said this before, debate me. Debate me on Twitter, Facebook. Go for it. Because all you have shown to me and to the rest of this country by this stupid ass video is how much of a racist prick you really are. All because one football player out of a whole host of football players wasn't drafted when you wanted him drafted. There's a whole host of football players that should have been drafted that I wanted to go first round. They didn't. And a lot of them made themselves into huge successes. And again, people went into the NFL draft, got drafted the first round, and fizzled when they got to the pros. The perfect example, Ryan Leaf. You don't know that name? Look him up. But Adams, you are pathetic. You are straight up pathetic. And it's making me physically sick to even talk about this shit. And it only re-emphasizes the fact that you never played a sport in your life and you know absolutely nothing about professional football. All you see is people who don't look like you, talk like you, or believe in the same things you do, getting all the breaks in the world, and you're only left with hoping that Donald Trump sucks your cock. And that, to me, is sad. If you have any kind of hopes or wishes of proving me wrong, debate me, Adams. Stop ducking me. Stop seeing your little minions out there posting fake photos and fake lies about me, and debate me, man to man, instead of being Donald Trump's bitch. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.